The 6 to 7 Figure Show, episode 98. Let's hit it.
Broadcasting from the Valley of the Sun outside Phoenix, Arizona. This is the 6 to 7 Figure Show. Tired of working so hard and having no time? Take your six-figure practice and turn it to a thriving seven-figure enterprise. And now, your host, author, speaker, mentor, and strategist, Frank Bria.
Hey everyone, welcome to the 6 to 7 Figure Show. I'm your host, Frank Bria, and in today's episode, we are going to focus on coaching. But first, a quick message from our sponsor. This episode of the 6 to 7 Figure Show is brought to you by High Ticket Program. What is standing between your six-figure practice and a seven-figure enterprise? Just 12 projects. That's all. Execute those, and you're there. In the High Ticket Program Accelerator, we guide you through every step of growth and scale in a process we call LEAP. Imagine having a world-class project team guiding you and your team through every step of pain-free growth, all with the goal of becoming a seven-figure enterprise and moving away from painful, time-consuming business operations and client delivery. Get a taste of LEAP in your own business by downloading our free high-ticket program core offer Black Book. It contains more than 60 pages of standard operating procedures for your business, including onboarding, customer service, graduation, financial management. You can get that for free by going to the show's homepage, 6to7.show. That's 6to7.show for your free Black Book. I'm absolutely pleased to be introducing today's guest, Krishna Mohan. He is an entrepreneur, business coach, speaker, #1 best-selling author, as seen on Fox TV and multiple media outlets, president of Genius Visionary, managing partner of Capital Street Investments, LLP, and president of Gifting Boutique. Over the last 20 years, he's helped 3 Fortune 500 companies and several startup organizations focusing on sales, business development, and finance. His management style has been described as decisive and motivational, where success comes from a focused commitment to developing new business, cultivating relationships, training salespeople, and creating growth strategies. He's involved in several acquisitions and mergers. Krishna has a master's degree in marketing management, MMM, and MBA international business, and is an MS in finance. Krishna is an acclaimed speaker, regularly speaks in various corporate events, boot camps, and management trainings. Krishna, welcome to the program. We're thrilled to have you here.
Oh, thank you, Frank. That was a wonderful introduction. Thank you for having me.
No, my pleasure. You've done a lot. You've got a great background. Actually, one of the things that's really interesting about your background and what we really wanted to interview you is that you've got a depth of management and finance background that most people who are in the coaching space working with companies don't. Tell us a little bit about how you got into working with companies and helping them in growth and finance and getting them successful.
Yeah, so Frank, I was lucky enough to start my career with GE, which is a Fortune 500 company. I started my career in sales and grew up to mid-level management, and I handled large territories myself and managed teams. And then subsequently moved on to another Fortune 500 company in a larger role, and then another one in telecom, much bigger role, nationwide kind of operation. So I learned a lot of things along the way. And then I realized that a lot of these functional managers, especially who are in the front line, sales, BD, marketing folks, they have no clue about the finances. They have no clue about what happens once they bring that sale. Once they execute the sale, they really don't know what happens to the profitability, what happens to the taxes, happens to the depreciation, how the product pricing impacts everything else. So then I thought, okay, so why not I get educated in that space, and that's how I went back to school. I made sure that I got the degree, and then I repositioned myself as somebody who actually can manage a business, not just get some sales, right?
Yeah.
And then I took smaller organizations as my challenge, and then I helped along the way to not only improve on sales, product launches, increasing the profitability, but also making sure that their taxes are right, they're structured right, they're positioned for larger success, and they build a solid organization with a strong foundation. So And so that's how, that's my transition from, sales to, finance and helping companies. Yeah.
Well, that's really what I really like about that is it fills in a lot of gaps for people that they normally don't get. I mean, it's very traditional to hear the transition of a CEO from a sales position in a management position, but they usually have that blind spot around profitability, around finance, around structure, and a lot of entrepreneurs who are just very good evangelists. They're very good at talking about what they do and their idea and getting it out there and enrolling people in that vision. They have a hard time when they sort of think that's what it means to build a business, is to essentially be a really good salesperson. And as you describe, there are a ton of other functions that have to be in place to be successful at that. So it's great that you saw that blind spot and went back and filled it in. Because now you're in a position to help people fill that blind spot for themselves. That's
you have this top-down view for the organization. At the same time, you never lose the focus at the front line. Like, who is your client? What's your market? What's your ideal customer persona? What is it that you bring as a value to this customer? But at the same time, you make sure your organization goals are also met. So you have this 360-degree view whenever you have any kind of interface with the market.
Yeah, one of the other things in your background that I think is really interesting is that you've been involved in a few mergers and acquisitions.
Right.
How do you find that experience helps you in working with other entrepreneurs? Is that relevant? Do you find that comes into play?
Well, yeah, it does come into the play because, as you know, I'm a business coach as well. So I coach business owners, entrepreneurs, taking them to the next level. During this process, I clearly see a lot of patterns, like you mentioned, right? The blind spots. And then they're thinking the business is not doing well because, the economy, or my people are not performing, or my sales teams are a problem. What they're not understanding is that they lack the skills of building an organization, building those processes that support the organization to function effectively. But through that process, some of these entrepreneurs, they give up. So that becomes an acquisition target. So I could clearly see a good potential business through this endeavor, and then also see a right match in this process, and then say, hey, you guys are doing, you guys are in this industry, you have this success story. However, now maybe this is a time for you to consider this as an option. So it becomes like a happy marriage, So if it can be independently successful, then they can do very well, as together,
There's something about the mergers and acquisition process that is very fuzzy and mysterious if you've never been through it before. And, any good business owner should be thinking about exit some point in the future as something that they should do, or acquiring as a way to grow, at the appropriate time. And if you've never been through it before, it feels like something, it's complicated, it's kind of out there. So it's great to have someone at your side that's been through that process. And, those of us who've been through acquisitions and been involved in the, merger process, it's not as scary as you think. And therefore, you can kind of bring that expertise into play. That's great.
Right. Yeah.
So what are the typical businesses that you're working with now? What size, what kinds of problems are they usually coming to?
Yeah. So Frank, right now I'm focused more towards smaller businesses. They're anywhere between 500,000 to up until $5 million. Okay. They're in between that space because that's where they need the maximum help.
Yeah.
And I'm not specifically attached to a specific industry, but my success has been primarily in the space of IT, telecom, manufacturing, and auto, car dealership kind of environment. So they're all over the place, but that's within the range of that revenue space is my focus right now.
Right. And is growth usually the problem they're coming to you with, or are they big enough also that they were having some operational process problems too?
Yeah, they come with the growth as a problem. Basically, they're at a point. This is my X revenue right now, but I'm finding it difficult to reach my Y. That's how they start. And as I dig into my strategy sessions, I realize that there are so many other issues which are related to this, which are more towards the operations, people, including, like I said, going back to I get into their balance sheets, I get into their income statements and cash flow statements.
Yeah.
And I find many other areas where we can find quick money right there sitting in the table. At the same time, making certain changes at that level can bring a lot of difference to their bottom line, which is their gross margins and net margins. And then go back to the front line, which is more towards lead generation, traffic, conversions, positioning, messaging, and
yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Well, actually, that's a great segue into the next question I want to ask you, which is, okay, as you're working with clients, do you find that there's a common process or a number of themes that you're tackling, and how do you take people through this process of growth? Is there a process to the coaching methodology you have?
Yeah, for me, yes. The process is, first of all, when I meet a client, first I kind of bring them the reality. I just try to bring them that 360-degree view that the business owner is not having it. Most of the small business owners really don't think big. They have this mentality, yes, okay, last year I did this number, this year this is what I want to do, but that's not happening. I don't know why. I have all these problems in the market and internal problems. Right. But once I look into these aspects, like I mentioned, look at their financials, look at their operations, look at their people, look at their market, and what they're really offering to the market, then I kind of give them an aspect of what's happening in each one of these areas. And then once I give them that reality check, then what I will let them know is, what are we agreeing upon? You're $1 million company. Do you want to get to $1.4 million? And if that is so, then here are the things that you need to make changes in this area. Your landing page, do you have a landing page? I'll look at their website, I look at their current marketing activities, and then I will tell them this is the area we need to focus on lead generation. This is what you got to do on your pricing. Are you appropriately priced? Are you underpricing, or what is going on that, right? Yeah. And then what is the basis of that pricing? And then do you really have a metrics to measure your margins? Do you know at what sales you would be making what money? Most of these business owners, they really don't have answers. Once I bring in these questions onto the table, then we will come up with some kind of a process to measure that. Do you know how many people visit your website on a daily basis? Do you even track that? Yeah. So I break it down to all the list of the things that are important for them to get to that destination, and then I will come up with a process to measure that to an extent where they can measure their performance on a daily basis. Not necessarily only revenues, or not necessarily only receivables, but you're also measuring all the metrics which are behind the scenes. Yeah. So what are these red areas? I'm red on this, I'm red on this, I'm red on this. Okay, so then I got to make sure that that's not the case tomorrow. Yeah. So what happens is you are solving these problems real time. So you're not waiting for the surprise that I have after the end of the month report.
Right.
So that is what is helping my clients to reach these goals. So I know if somebody is not reaching this step, that these weekly goals, these monthly goals, I know where to address, so we can address it right away. Right. So that's how I'm able to show the success, and then that's how I structure my compensation also based on the results. So that's why I am kind of hands-on with my clients.
Sure. Yeah, and I know people really like to feel like their coach is aligned, with
yes. Yeah.
With it, the incentives are aligned, and that everyone's kind of working in the same direction. I really like the process that you laid out. It sounds like first is assessment. You've got this 360-degree assessment.
Yes.
Then it's resetting goals and understanding exactly what the impacts are. It's then prioritizing the pain points and going after the low-hanging fruit, and then establishing, and this is the stage I really like, establishing a measurement and management process so that you can continue to look at the important things that are driving towards those goals and being able to, in real time, get an assessment of how things are going. I think that's great. That's a great process. I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So as you are working with clients, what are some of the biggest challenges you think they're facing? So as you take people through the process, what are some things that are holding them back from executing on this process?
Yeah, the biggest thing what I see, especially with this, small business owners, is that they're pretty hands-on on their business. Like in the sense they're working in the business, not on the business.
Right.
So that is the main thing, and it's very difficult to get him out of that mindset. Yes, you are required. Yes, you need to know what's going on, but at the same time, you need to have this top-down view. You need to know what's going on everywhere else, but also learn how to delegate, learn how to develop those internal leaders in each one of your function areas, right? And then also systematize things. So you monitor the system, you measure those processes, you measure those results. So that's the job of the CEO. You're not here to actually do the job and so much worry about those issues on a daily basis. So because you're not allocating time for thinking, you're not allocating time for managing the company. You got to manage the people, manage these things, right? So that is my biggest problem. Pulling them out of that has been my challenge, and that's where my education comes. And it takes a while for me to transition to this role, so they can scale the company.
Right.
The more they become hands-off, the bigger the company can become. And then they're so hand-tied. Oh, I don't have this budget. I don't have this. Yes, everything will come, but your understanding and having the right framework, not only for you but for the organization, can help you to slowly transition out, from being hands-on to managing the company, and then have those systems, have those processes, have those people deliver those results for you. So you focus on the bigger things in terms of setting the direction for the company, and then being helpful for everybody in the process.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great advice, and I see that as well. I agree with you that usually the CEO is the bottleneck of the change process. So that's terrific. A question for you. If you've been doing this a while now, and you've had a lot of success, and you've been able to take some big companies and some small companies through the growth cycle. If you could go back in time to the beginning of running your own business and kind of whisper in your ear some advice, what would Krishna tell the younger Krishna in beginning this that might help smooth the process for you?
Yeah. So the first thing what I would tell is that it doesn't need to take so long to be successful to where I'm at. I would have crunched the time frame. It was because of a lot of my mental blockages or my small thinking, and then not really knowing the resources available out there in the market, that a lot of things delayed. And then I kind of worked my way very hard to reach my goals. But it need not be that way. There are so many tools available, so many resources available, so many options available, especially for funding, financing, at the same time, even scaling the business, and then understanding technology, and then using that knowledge in marketing. So I was missing those pieces. So I think in that process, I could have easily saved at least 3 to 5 years of my business career to achieve the same results.
Yeah.
If I knew the same things before.
That's really a great insight. I do think that, looking back, all of us, I think, we see ourselves as talented and successful, but not as, ready or worthy for that next step, I think. And it does kind of mess up with our head and stuff like that. That's great. Krishna, this has been a great conversation. We're out of time, and I really wish we could spend a little bit more time talking about it, but you've been generous with your time, and thank you very much. One last question before we go, as the audience is listening to you and hearing your background and the kinds of companies you work with, if they want to get in touch with you, hear a little bit more about you and what you do, what's a great way for them to begin that conversation?
Yeah, I think the best way that anyone can reach me is my email, which is krishna@geniusbusinesscoach.com, krishna@geniusbusinesscoach.com. And then also I would advise that if anybody is interested to have my latest book, which is I do 10K challenge where I show at least $10,000 for any business within 45 minutes. The book is available for free download on my website, which is geniusbusinesscoach.com. And again, geniusbusinesscoach.com. They can get the book for free.
Great. Excellent. And thank you very much. A generous offer for the audience.
Sure.
The link and email are in the show notes or under the video if you're watching the video. So if you're out and about listening to this episode, come on back and to the show notes page and click on through to connect with Krishna. Krishna, thanks so much for being with us. Really, it has been a pleasure to talk to you and to hear about your experience and your expertise.
Yeah, thank you, Frank. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. And thank you for being with us on the 6 to 7 Figure Show. I've been your host, Frank Bria. Just a quick reminder about the free high-ticket program, Core Offer Black Book. Contains more than 60 pages of standard operating procedures on how to run your coaching, consulting, or expert-based service business. You can download that for free at the show's homepage, 6to7.show. That's 6to7.show for your free Black Book. We will see you on the next episode of the 6 to 7 Figure Show. Make it happen. Bye-bye.